is important information. Like, I don't have a doubt about it. I'm not confused on this topic. I know for sure that we are in a self-care mental health crisis with our teenagers, with adults, with America, with people in general, mental health or the lack thereof. And we need to talk about it. We need to talk about how we're going to take care of each other. We need to talk about how are you going to take care of yourself. This is a serious conversation. Burnout is real, okay? And I want you to, matter of fact, throw a hand up at me if you know burnout is real. If you know that anxiety is real, depression is real. These are very real things. These are very real things that affect each and every one of us in a very different way. So I guess I'll go ahead and just jump on in it since that's where I am. So depression, anxiety, and mental illness looks very different for every person. All right. Sometimes the symptoms are the same. Sometimes they vary because depression can look very, very different on one person, and look what it doesn't seem like it's depression on somebody else. Okay. Depression is so tricky sometimes that depression can literally be you laying in your bed, not enjoying what you used to enjoy anymore, not engaging people the way that you normally will, cutting off people that you normally would talk to. So that could be what depression looks like for one person. And then depression for another person can look like extremely busy, just running, not finishing tasks, just kind of all over the place. Kind of feeling this feeling of like fogginess, caught like a deer in headlights, but feeling like they always have to be doing something. And if they're not doing something, then they don't feel accomplished. So depression can look very different for different people. And the reason why I say that we're in a self-care crisis at this current moment is because people are asking when they walk by you in the morning. And I know everybody can attest to this. If you can attest to this, I want you to raise your hand. Matter of fact, I want you to say, I know what you're talking about. I want you to type out, I know what you are talking about. When people walk by you in the morning and they say, how are you doing? You doing all right this morning? And you say, I'm fine. You say, I'm okay. That's your reaction. And it's almost immediate. You don't even think about it. You literally say, oh, I'm okay. Oh, I'm fine. When the truth of the matter is you're not. You're not okay. And you're not fine. You're burned out. You're tired. You're anxious. You're feeling a little bit depressed. But you kind of are you're functioning in your depression, right? So I'm not saying that you have to tell everybody what's wrong with you when you come across them. But what I am saying is let's be honest with ourselves and know when we're not okay and stop and really assess and look at when we're not okay. All right. Let me go in this group really quickly because I shared this information in the Grady Cares group specifically because I thought it would definitely be some information that they would want to hear, and I switched the pages. So let me let them know. Let's see that we are in here really quickly. Brady. Okay. All right, awesome. So I just shared that with the Grady Cares group. This should be a public live, so they should be able to see it. Okay, great. All right, now so we've already identified and addressed the fact that we're in a mental health crisis, right? We've already identified that we're in a self-care crisis. So the first question that I want to ask, are you really okay? All right, that is a real question. That's a question that I really want you to ask yourself right now. And if you're feeling what I'm saying, if you're understanding what I'm saying, I really want you to respond. I want this to be interactive. I want you to come back and tell me something because this is meant to be an engaging conversation. This is meant to be a conversation that we are called to address. All right. Thank you, Caroline, for being honest. She says, I know what you're talking about, but why say anything? Because the burdensome Carrie, people don't want to hear or talk about. All right, Caroline, let's talk about that. It is very important to identify those people in your life or around you that you know does not have your best interest at heart. That is your job. That's your work that you have to do. If you do not have people around you that do not have your best interest at heart, that does not want to hear what it is that you have to say, it is time to develop a new circle of friends. Part of that is pride. Part of that is fear. Part of that is not having a safe space. That's the best way I can put that. So it's important and critical for you to find and develop your safe space. Okay? You know what that looks like. You know what rooms, you know what kind of people that you feel safest around. And you have to do some inner work and you have to develop that, right? So for instance, in the schools, typically the child's or the teenager's safe space is the counselor. It's typically the social worker. It is typically a teacher that they trust, an adult that they trust. And in Carolina, if it's a situation where, again, I said you have to do the work to develop your own safe circle and safe space. Because what I recognize is if there is no one, it's important to find someone. And so that means you may have to identify a therapist. That means that you may have to identify a mental health professional. That means that you're going to have to get somebody in your corner, right? That has your best interest at heart. Now, if it just comes to a situation where there's absolutely nobody, then I posted on my page a link to the crisis text line and the Georgia crisis line, because those are people, professionals that don't know you. They're objective. They're not judging you, and they can be your safe space until you develop a safe circle. All right. So are you really okay? And being honest about that. If you're coming in, please let me know that you're here. So now we're on the part where we're talking about, are you really okay? And developing a safe circle of friends. Now, once you identify whether or not you're okay, right? Now it's time to identify who your safe circle of people are. Okay. That takes work. Because if you're going to identify who's safe for you, and if you are going to identify who those people are that love and care about you, then you're going to have to really search the hearts of the people around you. You're going to have to determine, all right, if I told this person that I was in a mental health emergency, if I told them that I am burnt out, if I told them that I am tired, if I told them that I am exhausted, will they respond the way that I need them to respond? Not in a way that they think that they need to respond. But I kind of need you to respond in the way I need you to respond, right? Because in that moment, being selfless, it is not about you. It is about that other person, right? So self-work and check and know when you're not okay. So you got to look at the signs. Are you being burnt out? Are you tired? Are emails, texts, phone calls, are they causing anxiety for you? Are they making you nervous? Are you getting easily agitated? Are you finding that everything is just kind of falling behind? Like you're just not doing anything. Like you're not responding to text messages, emails. You're not doing any work. You're just neglecting your responsibilities, right? You're coming in late for work, or you're showing up late to certain things. Those are the things that you need to look for and identify, especially if your normal is showing up to work on time, if your normal is engaging your friends, if your normal is talking to people, and then you back out of that, then you need to identify that something's wrong. So doing the work to make sure that you're okay. I posted some what's called a self care. No, what did I call it? A safe card. I posted a safe card on my page. Those self cards, I want you to really take a look at, and I'm going to go to one right now. All right. So this safe card says, insert your name. And then it says, insert all of the things you have found to bring you joy, cheers you up, and calms you down. On the back side, note your triggers and signs of burnout, anxiety, and depression. This will take some serious self reflection and honesty. Provide this card to those closest to you. So when you don't know when or how to ask for help, or when "I'm fine" seems to become your general answer, then someone is able to help you. All right. So I posted those cards and I did an example of a card. So Curly Sue, let's just take Curly Sue for an example. Curly Sue's safe card looks like this. Her immediate pick me ups, right? This is something that when Curly Sue was going through, and she's triggered, these are the things that really motivate her. Jason Mraz, "I Want It All" song. Fresh Flowers, "Taking a Walk," talking to her grandmother. The colors blue and orange calms her. Savannah is her favorite city. She likes coffee with almond milk, right? So these are some things that Curly Sue has noted on her safe card that immediately cheers her up and makes her better. So if you catch Susie, if you catch Curly Sue early enough, before she slips too deep into a state of depression, then hopefully the goal or the hope is that, you know what, we can pull her out before she gets too deep. That's the goal. So when you look at triggers, Curly Sue's triggers: I begin to isolate myself. I stop answering phone calls. I am late for class. I cry easily. I begin to lash out. I don't eat or have an appetite. Those are Curly Sue's triggers. So her triggers are all of these things. So when you see your friend Curly Sue, you have her safe card because she's identified you as a safe person. She's identified you as someone in her life that loves and cares about her. So when she starts seeing you kind of isolating yourself, when she sees you're not answering your phone calls the way that you normally do, or text messages, if she sees that Sue usually is on time to class and now she's late quite often. Susie usually pretty Curly Sue, I keep changing her name. Curly Sue usually has tough skin, but now she's crying pretty easily. Curly Sue is usually nice, typically nice, but today, the last week or so, she's been lashing out. And she hasn't really been eating. Well, you know Curly Sue is a foodie, right? So these are triggers for her. So you, as her safe space, and having her safe card, because she's identified you as a person that loves and cares about her and is a safe space for her, you can take that card and you can reach Susie in a way that most people can't, because she's identified you and has been vulnerable with you and shared with you what it is that's triggering her, right? The next thing that I posted was the Georgia Crisis and Access line. Okay. If you feel burnt out to a point where you just feel like there is nobody to talk to, when you feel as though you just can't move forward, you feel like going to the next thing is just too much pressure, you can call that number and there are live professionals on there to help and assist you in a crisis. All right. If you don't want to talk to somebody, you have the Georgia Crisis. What is it? Not the Georgia Crisis. You have the crisis text line. I don't know. All right, my internet is buffering, but it is on my page. But if you look, you'll see like a red card that has like the Georgia text line, and you can literally text with a professional about what you're going through. All right. So these are things that I really would like for you to put in your toolbox and to really use the safeguards. Let people know that you're not okay. And the first thing that I want to tell you is that you don't need permission to not be okay. If you're here, I need to know that you're here. I need you to tell me something. If you're feeling this information, give me a hand, give me a wave, give me something. Are you all there? I think there's like a delay or something, but I'll leave it up for people to view. So it's okay not to be okay. What's not okay is you staying not okay. It's very important that you identify when you need help. All right? We're in a self-care crisis. You must take care of yourself. If you do not take care of yourself, you cannot take care of other people. All right? Depression is real. Anxiety is real. Suicidal thoughts are real. All right? There are some people that just on top of, even when you don't have mental illness, that like you don't have a diagnosis, it can be difficult. Life can be hard. So when you put just regular old Joe and then you add mental illness on top of that, and you actually have a diagnosis of being bipolar, you actually have a diagnosis of being schizophrenic, you actually have a diagnosis of being, a personality disorder, whatever the diagnosis is, you put that on top of it, it makes it harder. Can you imagine talking to somebody, having a conversation with them, and the whole time that you're talking to them, you're hearing another voice in your head? Audible. You're hearing an audible voice that says, don't trust them. Don't talk to them. These are very real things. And these are things that affect people around you. And these are things that most people wouldn't share, right? Because they might be embarrassed for whatever reason. But I just want to share and come on tonight and to say that we're in a self-care crisis. I can't say it enough. I posted on my page some tools for you to put in your toolbox for you to help yourself. No excuses. There are no excuses. None. We're killing the excuses in 2020. There are none. Identify some safe people. If you don't have anybody, you just don't trust anybody, then identify a mental health professional. Get a psychiatrist. Get a therapist. And do not go to a therapist that doesn't have a therapist. I don't trust a therapist that doesn't have a therapist. But at some point, we need to recognize and acknowledge if you're not okay. You need to develop time for yourself and make no apologies for it. You have to figure it out. Zero excuses on not taking care of yourself. None. I know that people have circumstances. I know that people have life going on. But make yourself a priority. Because if you're not well and if you are not prioritizing your own mental health, you are no good for anybody else. None. So I just want to make sure you're okay. And I want to tell you that it's okay not to be okay. And if you're not okay, then let's identify how to help you be okay. All right. So that's it. That's all I had. That's all I wanted to share. So much more I could share, but I'm not going to take much more of your time this evening. But please look at my page. Use those tools. Use the safeguards. Share those with the people you love. Create your own. You can use stickers or you can use whatever it is that you find that, it just looks nice and cool. Get creative with it. And give that to somebody that you trust, and give that to somebody that you know will not use your vulnerabilities against you. All right. Are there any questions? If there are, you can just leave them in the comment section or you can inbox me directly because I think there's a lag or something. I'm not quite sure. But thank you so much for tuning in. This has been, I am my morning coffee, evening coffee edition. All right. We talked about mental health tonight. Go back and look at the video. Go back and catch some of the tips that we talked about. No longer will somebody walk by me and ask me, am I Adelia, hey, you okay? And I'm not going to tell them the truth. If you don't want to hear it, don't ask. All right. Don't ask. Like, if you don't want to know the real answer, just say, hey, I hope you're well. Or just say good morning. That will work too. All right. But yeah. And I don't want to stop and ask people, are you okay? And not really wait on an answer. I want to wait. I want to know if you're really okay. All right. So y'all have a good night. I hope this helped you. If so, please let me know. Leave some comments in the comment section. Be blessed.